calling the meeting of the Mount Pleasant Design Review Board to order. This evening, PRB meeting is being held virtually due to COVID-19 pandemic. Understand the format may present challenges, but we ask that you bear with us to navigate this unfamiliar territory. With that being said, we have some tips that will help to make the process more efficient. Please mute all mics unless you are speaking. Please state your name before all statements. Those interested in making a public statement, please follow the direction on the screen. And know that there's a 30-second delay, so all participants should be aware of this. With that, we will begin by taking the roll of all the Design Review Board members. I'll call your name, and please just restate your name and say present. Mr. Ian Duncan.
Ian Duncan is present.
Cameron Swales. Cameron is not present. My name is Richard Lambert. I'm present. Mr. Christopher McCarthy.
Chris McCarthy present.
Sarah Spencer.
Present.
And Mr. William O'Neill.
William O'Neill present.
There we go. And Mr. Steve Magoon.
Steve Magoon present.
Very good. For the staff, we have Miss Lynette Lyons, recording secretary.
Lynette Lyons present.
Miss Brittany Johnson.
Brittany Johnson present.
And Mr. Peter Stone.
Stone here.
Very good. That is the members of the Design Review Board and staff. The next item on the agenda is we will we'd like to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion from someone on the board to approve the agenda? Please state your name and make a motion.
This is Sarah Spencer. I motion to approve the agenda.
This is Steve Magoon. I second.
Okay, and I think we can do this without a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next, we need to approve the minutes from last month's Design Review Board. So I'd entertain a motion from somebody to approve last month's meeting minutes.
Chris McCarthy makes a motion to approve the last minutes.
We have a second?
Ian Duncan will second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the last month's meeting minutes. Now we'll take any general public comments. If there's anybody, a member of the public who would like to say something, this is your opportunity. Please state your name for the record. And you may speak for 5 minutes.
Mr. Lambert, we do not have anyone waiting in the lobby.
Okay, we will close public comment. Is there any general correspondence?
Mr. Lambert, this is Brittany Johnson. There were no general correspondence.
All right. The next item is consent motion. Are there any
Consent motions to make. Please state your name and state your motion. There does not appear to be any consent motions. So next we will begin with business for the evening. We have 3 items on the agenda. The procedure for this is I will read the title of each of the presentations. We'd ask the staff to make their presentation. That will be for 5 minutes. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present. And then After that, we will have public comments up to 3 minutes per speaker. Then, once that is complete, the board will have a question period for the applicant. When that is complete, we'll close public comment, and then there will be board comments and deliberation on the application, and then we will entertain a motion. So the first item on the agenda is Long Grove Office, 1475 Long Grove Drive. This is for final approval of site, landscape, and architecture. So staff, do you have your presentation ready?
Yes, this is Peter Stone with site comments for Long Grove Office. The bike rack on L300 detail number 3 does not meet town design standards. Options of previously approved racks will be provided upon request. The tree planting detail on L202 needs to include removal of transport straps and removal of burlap from the top third of the root ball to be in keeping with ANSI standards. Staff recommends approval with staff comments needing to be addressed.
All right, Brittany Johnson with architectural comments. The applicant has met with staff. The overall form is compliant with the town's architectural guidelines. Staff would like to thank the project architect for incorporating both staff and board feedback. The applicant has provided the board with design options that respond to the previously provided comments. Staff suggested the final design incorporate the following design details: the central window that mimics the angle of the gable roof, horizontal siding, medium columns, and the HVAC screen with brick pillars. Additionally, the smaller windows have been removed from the south elevation and the position of the metal downspouts have been adjusted. Staff recommends final approval with all staff and board comments to be addressed.
Thank you. So the next we have the applicant presentation. Is the applicant ready to make their presentation? Please state your name, your firm name, and you have 5 minutes to present.
This is Wentz Chesson, Integrated Building Design. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Richard, okay. Yeah, so I've responded to the comments from last month, which all worked pretty well. First of all, in the rendering, kind of shows you, well, the first page, Peter or Brittany, can we go back to the first page on the rendering? I just want to make one comment about the landscaping. That tall grass in the back, I think that's a little different if you look at the landscaping plan. But if you could move to the second page now. Thank you. Yeah, so I went through, this is part of the design process I had already gone through, and I went through the horizontal and the vertical and the up and down and pointy windows, but I did pointy or square. I call it pointy. Might not be the right word, but I wanted to document this and show, all the options. I think they all work pretty well. It's not gonna be a big matter for me. I do think the pointy window is a little just too much. I was trying to think of a good word for, 80s. It looks too 80s or even 70s. I don't know that. But I think it would work. So that's also the horizontal siding. My ideal that I went with was the vertical siding because the whole middle layer of the building is all vertical. Kind of, we have the horizontal base and the horizontal kind of cap with the second story. I just thought it went better vertically. I did adjust the column width from the first time, which is on the top left, is the original or the preliminary design. And in the elevation, I think it does look a little awkward as far as the composition, but this, an elevation is something you never really see, and that's why I put the 3D view below it, because it kind of gives you a human viewpoint instead of an orthographic viewpoint. But again, changing it it's like to the one to the below it, or any of the others. With the narrower columns, it makes it look a little less masculine, I think, a little less strong, more dainty. But again, I like it. I like the heaviness and the strength of the center column and the preliminary design. But again, I'm just the architect, so that was just my preference. Okay, if you could keep on, let's go to the next page. There's just one other thing I want to hit. Yeah, I got the window in the back. I think that looks good. Big window. There's a little problem with the downspout right there. That should not be seen. I have like the downspout that's in the brick in the corner. It's a little mistake there, but it should look like, yeah, right there. It should look like the same one to the right, the corner of the building there. There was comments last time on the elevator overrun tower, and yeah, it sticks out down there. But this is a 3'6" overhang plus a big gutter, and when you're walking, along the sidewalk, it's not, and there's no real long views up there. It's very wooded. It's like the rendering shows, you can barely even see the building, and I had to make the trees transparent just to get the architecture across. And I think I think that's all I wanted to say. I talked to the site designer, and he is on the call. I think if he needs to address any questions the board may have. I saw there was discussion about changing the bike rack and all the detail about the tree. So I think that's all I got. Yeah, I did change the HVAC screening. Does look a lot better using the same material as the building. Okay, that's all for me.
Once, this is Chris McCarthy. What is the Soffit material and what color?
The Soffit material is a beaded board. It's the same source as the siding material, and the color is it's going to be a painted medium bronze. It kind of looks brown, like the mullions of the windows are medium bronze. Well, of course, that'd be anodized.
Rick, I think you're on mute.
Yes,
I'm on mute.
Rick.
I heard.
Sorry.
Yeah, Rick,
Still
could
muted.
you unmute? Yeah. I'll send a message.
There we go. Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next we'll move into public comments. We'll have an opportunity for any members of the public to comment on the project. They have up to 3 minutes per speaker, and if there are members of the public here that would like to speak, please state your name and address.
Mr. Lambert, we do not have anyone waiting in the lobby.
Okay, very good. All right, so now we'll move into board questions. This is, if there are any questions from the board, please state your name and ask your question to the applicant.
Would we be able to go back to the rendering or one of the elevation
yeah, that's fine too. I just wanted to have that up while we ask. Thanks. Rick, are you gonna go down the line or?
Well, I suppose we could do that.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Sorry.
I think that's a good idea. We did that in previous ones. So what we'll do is just open the floor. Begin with Ian. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
This is Ian. I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Did Cameron make it to the meeting? This is Rick, and I have no questions for the applicant. Chris?
Chris McCarthy, I have no questions.
Tara?
This is Tara Spencer. I have no questions.
William O'Neill?
Hey, William O'Neill, I have a couple questions. And I don't know if this question's for Wentz or the civil. What's driving the finished floor to be at 14? Is it the existing parking lot grade?
This is Wentz. I can answer that. The finished floor, it's 14 feet. That's for the flood, to get the building up to the flood elevation, which, and the site is a foot or 2.5 feet lower. So we had to, the ramp in the front, the drive-through kind of has a ramp, and the entrance on the back it does go down to 12.8. So we did not have to bring the back of the site up because that's the entrance to the second floor and not to the first floor. That's all I got.
Yeah, I couldn't see what flood zone we were in on the plan. So are we in like an AE 13? So it had to be 1 foot above flood at 14?
William, this is Jason Milner with CSC. Yeah, that's correct. It's an AE zone, so we have to be 1 foot above. I think it probably will change at some point in the future whenever new maps are done, but that is the reason the finished floor is where it is.
Gotcha. That was my only question. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So Steve Magoon, do you have any questions for the applicant?
This is Steve Magoon. I have no questions.
All right. That will close public comment. Now the board will have opportunity to comment and deliberate amongst themselves. So I'll go through the list and call out board members. And if you have a comment to make, just go ahead and state your comment. So Ian.
This is Ian. I have no comment. Thank you.
For myself, I think the plan looks nice. They've incorporated comments from staff and from board members from their presentation last month. So I'm satisfied that this looks like a nice building. Chris McCarthy.
I concur. The building has improved. I think the recommendations by staff are appropriate.
All right, Tara.
This is Tara Spencer. I agree with Chris that I agree with the staff comments, particularly the central window. I do really think when you see all of the design ideas that you put together, that the main window that follows that gable line, I think it just fits really nicely, and it gives some hierarchy to that middle portion of the building facade. So I think that everything else was really well incorporated. The proportion of the columns look great. The mechanical screening looks a lot better than what we saw last time. I think you've done what you can to minimize the elevator overrun, but I really just feel like the front middle window, if it could follow the gable line, I think that would finish it up nicely.
All right, William O'Neill, do you have any deliberation or comments?
No, they're similar to what Tara just said, although she articulated it much better than I will be able to. But yeah, great job. Thank you for kind of listening to what we suggested at the last DRB. It's great to be able to come back and see the changes implemented based on our comments.
All right, Steve Magoon.
I don't have any further questions either, so I think it looks great.
All right, at this point, we'll entertain a motion. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Right, this is Chris McCarthy. I'd like to make a motion to approve the application according to staff comments, which are the following. The central window mimics the angle of the gable roof, horizontal siding, the medium columns, and the HVA screen with brick pillars.
This is Tara Spencer, and I second that.
All right, so Lynette, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Ms. Spencer?
Approved.
Mr. Duncan?
Ian Duncan approves.
Mr. Magoon?
Steve Magoon approves.
Mr. McCarthy?
Chris McCarthy approves.
Mr. O'Neill?
William O'Neill approves.
And Mr. Lambert?
Rick Lambert approves.
Motion passed unanimous.
Very good. So now we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is 910 Johnny Dodds. This is for preliminary approval of site, landscape, and architecture.
Peter Stone has staff comments for 910 Johnny Dodds. Previous versions of this plan showed interconnectivity between this development and the Queensboro Shopping Center. Both planning and transportation staff recommend this connection be made at this point in time rather than during a later phasing. Drake elm is a cultivar of Chinese elm, which was asked to be removed from the plant schedule. If a species of elm is desired, an American elm would be recommended, specifically the Princeton cultivar. The planting of variegated flax lily and switchgrass proposed next to the AC units at the front right corner of the building need to be inverted. Switchgrass can mature at 5 feet while flax lily matures at around 3 feet. The foundation plantings at the front and left side of the building should be combined and not compartmentalized into separate planters for better tiered massing. This formation of plantings should continue along the front of the building. The switchgrass should be shifted from under the overhanging canopy and replace the ligustrum. Remove all notes requiring mitigation. No mitigation is required for removals that are currently being proposed. A parking island and required tree will need to be installed off the western corner of the building, Chapter 136.174C. The development does not have curbing installed around required parking island trees. For Chapter 156.173, curbing will be required. The board will need to weigh in on the style of curbing material installed on the front half of this development. The applicant is suggesting landscape timbers. Other options would include extruded curb using asphalt or concrete material. The use of concrete wheel stops would also be acceptable if properly cut to wrap islands. Staff recommends approval with comments needing to be addressed.
Brittany Johnson, architectural comments. The applicant has met with staff. The proposed revisions to the existing structure are consistent with the town's architectural guidelines. The addition of windows, metal canopies, and the entry element have helped to make the building more compliant. However, the electrical screening system looks oddly placed at the entry and should be implemented into the design more effectively or relocated. Staff recommends preliminary approval with all staff and board comments to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the applicant presentation. If the applicant can please state your name and the name of your firm, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Yes, this is Thomas Martin with EarthSource Engineering. I'm the civil engineer for the project for the 910 Johnny Dodds redevelopment. This site has been around for a little while.
Mr. Martin.
I'm sorry, Thomas, can you hold on for a quick second? This is Brittany, everyone. Can everyone mute except for Thomas? We were getting a echo there.
Yeah, and Mr. Martin, I think we need you need to possibly turn your speaker down just a little bit as well.
I think. That's working.
All right, Thomas, you want to go ahead?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the site was developed, from what I can tell, back in the 1980s. It's the East Shore Athletic Club. It's been around a long time. Y'all are probably familiar with it. Most recently was the O2 Fitness Center. And the owner's planning to come in and remodel the two existing buildings on site, and wants to keep and reuse the existing asphalt parking lot there. The larger building, the first one that you'll see as you come into the site, is going to be converted for office space use. I believe it's going to be 4 office tenants in that building. And the smaller building will also be remodeled. It's currently a personal fitness center, and it will continue with the same use remodel. As you move towards if you could go to the next page, Brittany, thank you. As you move towards the rear of the site, you'll notice that we're putting in some additional parking spaces, new paved parking spaces to accommodate the new use, the office use. And you also notice we're showing a future building and some future parking on the plan. The owner is not ready to build this portion of the site at this time, but we felt it was important to show how we ended up with the current layout and why the new parking is located where it is. Not a whole lot from a site standpoint on this one. We're just kind of keeping with the existing parking lot and adding parking spaces at the back. So I'll turn it over to the architect, Zach, to address any or discuss the buildings.
Zach, you can go ahead. Zach, if you could unmute and continue with the presentation.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Zach Harmon. I'm the project manager for this project for the Middleton Group. Like Thomas had mentioned, there are 2 buildings on site. The larger building on the bottom of the page is being redeveloped for office use, particularly medical, a target for medical and kind of outpatient family care tenants. It's going to be brought up to a white box standard. And so there's kind of 2, if you go up, to the primary elevations for the building. I think it's 2 pages back. Yeah, 1 more. Okay, so this is your primary elevation as you're driving into the site. We're doing 2 primary things to this building. One is we're adding a main lobby to the front. You'll see that on the bottom elevation there. The top elevation is currently existing. The bottom elevation is the proposed elevation. So we're adding a main lobby that will incorporate a new elevator to make the 2nd floor fully accessible. And then the 1st floor tenants will have storefront access directly from the parking lot. As you can see along the elevation, we're adding new storefronts at the bottom with new canopies These will be the entrances for your tenants on the first floor. And then we're adding more punched openings above them on the second floor for your second floor tenants. Ideally, we're looking at anywhere from, 2 full floor tenants to up to 4 tenants per floor. So 2 to 8 tenants, depending on the tenants that sign their lease agreements, but that has yet to be determined. And so beyond that, we have, we're changing the color scheme of the building. You can see the colors on the upper right portion of the proposed elevation. The metal panel on the second floor, we're going to be painting this grayish blue. We're kind of reinventing the color scheme of this building to be more coastal, modern coastal feel. So that metal panel will be painted blue. And then the stucco will be repainted white. And then the brick will be painted white as well. And then all the steel accents, the exposed columns, the horizontal louvers at the main entrance will be painted this darker gray. So there's basically 3, primary color, tertiary color, and a secondary color going on there. You can go to the next elevation. And this is in the back of the building between the 2 buildings. So this is more your standard, this is where all the mechanical will be located. Currently, there are existing ground, like pad located units, package units. We're taking those out and making everything in the building a split system. So you'll have pad mounted condensers with this horizontal wood slat fence to screen all mechanical equipment. Same color scheme, and you can kind of see the louver, the through wall louvers for the mechanical air handlers in the elevations themselves. Next page. And then these are the 2 short end elevations. Again, existing is above, proposed is below. So the front elevation, which is the left elevation, that's kind of as you're coming into the site. We're reintroducing those storefronts on the first floor. And then we're putting new storefronts on the second floor there. And you can kind of see what the lobby mass looks like to the left on that left elevation. And then the rear of the building, we're demolishing the current pool. There's a pool on site, and then we're kind of introducing these little punched openings on the rear elevation on the right there. Same color scheme is being used throughout the building. Next page. And then you have the smaller building. The front elevation is remaining relatively unchanged except for the proposed color scheme. And then the rear elevation is where we're doing an addition to the current tenant. The current tenant is a gym, kind of more individualized training gym, and we're adding a locker room, which is that 1-story mass to the right of that red elevation, and then the 2-story mass is a new staircase, an interior staircase, because there's only one stair to egress and ingress to that second floor space. So we're adding a second staircase to make it code compliant. And in this building, it is important to note that the materials have changed. These new materials will be more of a fiber cement siding, horizontally oriented for the 2-story mass, and then the 1-story mass will be board and batten to mimic the material that you see at the second floor of that mass that's currently existing. Next page. Nothing's of importance except for the color changes on these elevations. And then we are having a dumpster enclosure and mechanical screening on site. We're going to try to keep it the same style. So for the dumpster enclosure, we have this, we have these front gates with this horizontal oriented fence plank. It's all wooden, stained and sealed to match the E-pay accents on the main building. And then the last, I believe, is the rendering, the last page. So that's kind of the money shot for this development, kind of highlight the color scheme that we're proposing for the building. I really didn't touch on it in the elevation, but that main central lobby that's being proposed, we have new brick for that 2-story mass. That'll be where the elevator is. And then we have this horizontally and vertically oriented E-pay siding that you kind of see in that reddish tone with those exposed columns, angular shed roof to one side. and then this projecting canopy that will be at the main entrance for people that are being dropped off. So they aren't, they're not in the rain when they're dropped off. And beyond that, the only kind of thing I want to touch on is Brittany's comment regarding the electrical meters. So this you don't see it in this rendering, but we have an existing transformer on site, and that transformer is right near that screening where you see the 910 right there. There's a transformer in that location. It's existing, and we're proposing to keep it. And the problem that we're running into is that Dominion Energy will not allow us to put it in that electrical room, where you can kind of see that door right next to that black screening element. There's an electrical room there, and they're not going to let us put those meters in that electrical room. So from a cost standpoint and from a practicality standpoint, it makes sense to keep the meters near the transformer. So that's kind of why we show the meter bank and the screening in that current location, because it's probably the most practical and functional. I agree that it might not be most aesthetically pleasing option for a new construction, but for an existing building that we're trying to reuse what's there, I think that's kind of what we proposed. And, we're certainly open for discussion and investigating that to make it maybe a little softer than what we're showing in this current rendering. But other than that, I think I'm done.
All right, thank you. At this point, we'll take public comments. If there's a member of the public who would like to speak, please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Lynette, is anybody waiting to?
We do not have anyone waiting in the lobby.
All right, so we will move on to board questions. So I'll call on the names of board members, and then you can ask your question to the applicant. Ian Duncan.
Hi, this is Ian Duncan. I know this site quite well, and really the only facade to me that is of import to the public domain would be the south facing to the right of this rendering. And it looks honestly a little sparse. I like what you've done with the lobby. I'd like to see a little more detail and maybe some foundation planting up front. I know you don't want to confuse the main entry, but as a person that drives by this every day, I know that it goes way back and there's a lot of trees, so you don't really see most of this except for that facade. I'd like to see just a little more detail on that. And I think landscape would help tremendously on this. I think Peter's comments are very well placed. I think connectivity is huge, and proper layering of proper species in the area could help settle this thing down quite a bit.
Hey, Ian, this is Thomas. I can address that. That rendering doesn't show any foundation plantings up front, but if you look at our landscape plan, we do have some shrubs up front. As far as there's comments and staff comments about landscape, definitely something we can work with staff on.
Hey, Thomas, we're having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's just me. Can you get a little closer to your microphone?
Yeah, certainly. So as I was saying, as far as the staff comments on landscape, it's definitely something that we will continue to work with staff on for the next submittal. But I just wanted to point out that there are foundation plantings. It's just not shown on this rendering.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like where this is all headed. I feel like there's a lot of focus on that lobby and maybe not what's facing the street. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, this is Rick Lambert. I have no comments or questions from the applicant. Chris McCarthy, do you have any questions?
This is Chris McCarthy. I have a few comments, and maybe the architect could give me some of his thoughts. I feel like the black facade on the building isn't structurally or visually tied or supported. And this thought started when I was looking at the rear elevation. I remember this building well. I used to go here when it was East Shore. The back part of the building always bothered me because it sort of had this massive mansard panel that had no relationship to the rest of the building. And I feel like we're carrying that through. My thought was, and this is just talking out loud, rather than getting rid of the downspouts on the existing south elevation, maybe those could be extensions of the upper mansard and give it some visual structure. But that's not very visually seen. However, the front corner, can we go back to the rendering? The front corner, I just feel like it's two different layers on a cake that have no relationship to one another. But I would be willing to listen to your design philosophy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Zach again, in the Milton Group. Yeah, I certainly, I understand your the two layers of the cake analogy. We kind of treated it as two kind of separate materials and highlighted them as such, with two different colors for the paint scheme. We're trying to keep it fairly minimal and clean lines, and minimally, disruptive of the existing building. I'm not sure if you would like us to explore additional veneer, to the existing building, or if we can certainly look to explore that, but, there's a few things, that led to this design. One is we're trying to maintain a certain, under the 50% rule, we're trying to be minimal with be cost effective with our design solutions. So we focused on that main lobby and, kept the existing structure and existing veneer as is. And we just kind of painted it, but we can certainly look to explore to connect those two floors visually in the front there. But that's kind of why there was no additional veneer added to kind of connect those two layers.
All right, Tara, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Hi, this is Tara Spencer. I think you already addressed this, but you said that there is going to be landscaping, like shrubs along that front facade that faces Shawnee Dodds. I'm guessing that this kind of green space area on this corner here, that will also include more landscaping?
That's correct. If we can go to sheet L100 from the civil drawings, that might help address some questions. I believe we've got some sod there now, but as Peter's pointed out in his comments, we're definitely still working through some foundation plannings, and we'll continue to work with staff.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, it would be nice, I think, to have maybe like a couple of trees there, just to shade that area on the corner. And then if we could go back to the rendering real quick. So I really like what you've done with the layering of the new lobby element. I think all the materials are scaled really nicely proportionate wise, and the only thing that is that I would like to change is the downspout coming off the front to go down that front column. It looks like there's only one gutter, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if there would be a way to move that downspout closer to the building and have it come down over there along that edge, just because I feel like that's a really nice corner, and I wouldn't want it to be emphasized with the downspout there. Do you think that would be possible to move the downspout towards the building?
Yeah, this is Zach Carmen. I definitely think we could put it on that other column if you prefer. I was trying to keep the water away from the existing building. But, you know, if we can all work with Thomas to see if we can find a way to tie that storm water in so we're not dumping all that water right next to that exterior wall.
Right. Yeah, that would be, I think, really great if it could somehow just be a little more hidden. Because right now it just feels a little more prominent. I do like the screening that you've done to hide the existing transformer. I know that sounds like a tough situation that you guys are in. I was going to ask what was behind the screening there, but you've already answered that one. So I do feel like it's been taken care of nicely, and the proportion of the screening, it goes well with that e-pay element down there.
And to clarify, Tara, we are screening the meter bank. The transformer isn't showed up in our rendering right now. There's an existing element, and that's more just vegetative screened. But you know, we could certainly entertain that if you'd like. But right now, it's just the meter bank that's behind that screen.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right, William O'Neill, do you have any questions for the applicant? William, if you're talking, you need to unmute.
But it shows that William's unmuted. I don't know if he's having a connection issue.
I don't know. Well, let's just move on to Steve. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do not.
Okay, well, we'll let William ask any questions during, well, I don't know.
William can call in if he's having a problem. I can send him the
Yeah.
information.
Again, if I can, I'd like to amend while we're waiting for William, amend my response. I think we already covered it about how plain the building looks and a little bit too plain, and maybe even getting some coverage back in there. But I just wanted to mention that I don't like the plainness of it either. I think Christopher brought that up, and I think it was answered. So that's the only comment I had as far as for the architect.
This is Chris McCarthy again. A question for Zach. Zach, do you think there's a possibility that you could create an extension of the canopy, the entrance canopy, and create a colonnade of some sort along the block, or does it interfere? It's hard to switch back and forth. I don't know if it interferes with the transformer or how much room you got there, but maybe that would help to bring that mass to the ground. It would provide you with some west sunshade. It would give a little scale to the building that might be reminiscent of the entry. You could even mix in some e-pay or something.
Are you, just to clarify, are you saying you would like to see a colonnade along the curb line or kind of around the corner of that building? No, just at the building so that it has a little bit of a visual support for that upper half, and maybe it brings the scale of the entrance canopy over to that portion. The transformer, I don't think would be an issue. We do have minimum requirements for that sidewalk along that edge that I'd have to work with Thomas on. That I just want to make sure we wouldn't interfere with it if we had any structure on that along that. But it's something we certainly could explore. That was the intent.
Okay, I think William just re-entered. So William, we're in the question period for item number 2, and wanted to see if you had any questions for the applicant.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. That's amazing. So had a couple site related questions. are we going to have stormwater for this project due to the additional impervious? Is there underground attention, above ground attention? I don't see any. That's my first question.
Yeah, that's a great question, William. No, actually, we've decreased impervious area. If we can go to sheet C100, which would be towards the beginning. There we go. So I think as Zach mentioned, there was an existing enclosed pool back there, an asphalt basketball court and track. And the rest of the area back there really was gravel, kind of overflow parking. And so, you know, in keeping the existing asphalt parking lot and buildings, we added pervious pavers in some areas to offset any increase in impervious area. So we actually are not increasing impervious area.
Even based on your future build out with the additional building in the back and parking?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you all met through DRT with the fire department regarding turnaround opportunities?
We've been through the DRT process a couple times, and I have not received any comments from fire department. It's Dale Johnson, I believe. Is that correct, Peter?
He's no longer with the town.
No. Yeah, thanks, William.
Does the fire
you would
department...
you would be working with John Poole, but yeah, that'll be in your next DRT submittal.
Okay.
I guess my point was there's some code requirements regarding dead end driveways and what's required from a hammerhead turnaround standpoint. Obviously, the power of the fire marshal to waive that is that's up to him. Moving on to the building, I would have to agree with Ian's comment about really all you'll see. You know, I've been here for years. It will be the face of that building, and I also agree with Chris McCarthy about the cake. And so I think that we need to put some effort into that face of the building because that's really what you're going to see. And so I don't know if we need to go to the front elevation, but just kind of a flat front box look with a bigger box on top of a smaller box. Would love to see some way to stay below your 50% rule, but also give something great to the town aesthetically, and you know, putting our enhancements more into the front of the face of the building, because that's kind of where that's really what you'll see. I really don't have side-by-side elevations, but I guess this building is going to be completely dissimilar as far as brick color and the painted, was that metal on top? It's going to be just two separate structures, and they act completely differently. They're not made to mesh because of one's the 1970s construction and one's within the last 10 years. Is that kind of the thought?
This is Zach Harmon again. The current color scheme is a black metal panel on the top, and the bottom is just your red clay brick. So they're already diametrically kind of opposed. So we just kind of kept that and updated the color scheme with the new coastal color scheme. But beyond that, we didn't really explore kind of melding those two floors together. We kind of kept the existing as is and kept the clean lines. That was the intent. But if the board, you know, kind of wants to see that, an enhancement of that elevation, you know, it's certainly something we can explore.
I think that, I'm not saying we have to do that, but I think if we had side-by-side elevations, it would give us a better look of what the face of this building will look like when we drive down Highway 17. I just would love to see some more enhancements, especially in the front of this building. So I agree with Ian and Chris McCann's comments about the box on top of the box. I do like your entry element a lot. I think that's good looking. And that's really all I have.
All right, thank you.
This is Chris McCarthy again. Zach, I think you could accomplish a lot by having a canopy on the, on both sides. It doesn't have to be very deep. It would give you a little bit of the filament of the entrance to the gym and would help to structurally carry that mass to the ground. Would give a little bit of scale to this as well. The new entry is very human scaled, but the box isn't.
Gotcha.
So I would like you, perhaps you could do a study of a two-sided canopy on that front box.
Noted. Sounds good.
Okay, any other board questions?
This is Ian Duncan. I just want to say, if that's not your primary facade, which is obviously not, a landscape would go a long way, especially with this rendering. If you can't spend money on that facade, I get it, but try to hide it with something, with some landscape, I would say.
Okay, we'll close the public comment and we'll have an opportunity now for the board to do comments and deliberations amongst themselves. I'll go ahead and call out board members, and if you have any comments to make, first would be Ian. Any comments or deliberation?
Hey, this is Ian. I want to reiterate that I think Peter's comments are great. I think connectivity to the public shopping center is pretty critical for the future, even if it's just pedestrian, but just acknowledging that is expanding and will soon be much bigger. I think all the other staff comments are really appropriate, and I understand the limitations of the renovation cost. I think Tara's comment about the downspout is an opportunity for, maybe a rain garden, rain chain, celebrate it, turn it into a feature with that landscape. Otherwise, I quite like the language that you've developed for that lobby. I just wish we had a little more of that facing the public domain, or, screen it with some landscape. Thank you.
All right, this is Rick Lambert. My comments are this building is a very bare bones, pretty stark looking building, and I think that what the architect has done with this is going to be a vast improvement over what's there. So I fully support this. I think it looks pretty good for a project on a budget. So next we'll ask Chris McCarthy. Do you have any comments or deliberation?
No.
Tara?
Hi, this is Tara Spencer. I do have some more comments. So I really like the e-pay material that you've used in the area of the addition for the lobby. I think that what everyone's getting at with the front facade is valid, and I think maybe a way to soften it and to give it a little extra architecture on the front is maybe creating a canopy that also has like a wall down the side, like an L shape, and then you can pull that e-pay up to the front of the building, or just some kind of element like that where the e-pay can start to relate to that front facade. I think that would help. I even thought in the areas where the brick returns to the storefront on the front, if that part had some e-pay elements in it, that maybe would give a nice warmth right at the storefront. Just something, you don't have to go with any of these ideas in particular, but something to bring that warmth and that material to the front of the building to kind of blend them together, because I really do like the architecture that you have at that lobby, and I like the layering of it. So even if it's a low budget, if we can start to create a little bit of layering or those elements with the materials you're using there, I think that would tie in nicely. And then I understand that these are two different forms. I'm not completely opposed to that, but I am wondering, I guess, the dimension between the I guess it's a vertical metal panel and the brick, like how deep that is. and if there's room for maybe like some kind of band or something to tie those together as well, just to make it feel less like the material just stops and then a new one just starts. Something in the middle of those might help if you're not able to fully do anything bigger because of budget constraints. I think even a simple band that could help that transition between materials would be great. And I think that is all of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, next is William.
Hey, Greg, this is Thomas. If I could just jump in and address what Ian had brought up in the site comments very briefly.
We've really sort of moved on, but
okay, that's fine.
We're deliberating now, so we've gone past that. So William?
Hey, William, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I just want to echo what Tara said, Ian said. I want to find a way to really dress the face of this up. I mean, I really do think this is a prominent building in Mount Pleasant that those people who I guess know it very well, you don't miss this building. And there's kind of redevelopment occurring right in this little node. You know, we have South Atlantic Bank. We have a lot of new development kind of right along this corridor through here on Johnny Dodds. And I think there's a precedent, and, we have an opportunity to not spend too much money, but to put a nice looking facade in a small area. And I think Tara had some great suggestions. So I want to challenge the architect to, figure out a way to leave their stamp on this building so that we can have something we all can be proud of. I think we're on the right path. I think that if we do address the face a lot, then next time you come through, we'll have something for this whole group to be proud of. So that's kind of my charge for the applicant. I think this is an awesome site that those of us who live in Mount Pleasant can drive by and be proud of. So let's take advantage of the face of this building.
All right, Steve, do you have any comments or deliberation?
You guys all stole mine. I hate being last all the time because I will steal mine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking ePay all day. I know it's not budget friendly, but that band, I was thinking about that band of ePay around the front there. Also looking at the incest area, the vertical incest where I guess that's the elevator shaft is, top to bottom. That looks like a nice little thing that if we could carry that over into that front warmth of the building or something, that would be kind of cool. But William said it. This is a great opportunity for an architect to jump in and say, let's make this really something spectacular. And if it's awnings on the windows up top, they look kind of naked and just sitting there. But I don't know. It's just I think it's so close to being able to be just a real nice showpiece. That's all. And I don't really hate being last.
Anybody else on the board have something to say? At this point, we'll entertain a motion. If somebody would like to make a motion, this applicant has applied for preliminary approval of site, landscape, and architecture, and there's some board comments.
This is Tara Spencer. I would like to make the motion of approval with staff and board comments, specifically addressing the landscaping around the building and this front facade of the building, incorporating materials similar to the materials used around the lobby area. I believe the color scheme is really nice, and I think that the warmth of that will help.
All right, do we have a second?
Ian Duncan will second that.
All right, Lynette, would you please do a roll call vote, please?
Certainly.
Can I interrupt?
Mr. O'Neill.
William O'Neill, vote to approve based on Tara's motion.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
Chris McCarthy, I have a question, please. Are we approving this with,
The motion is for approval, including all staff and board comments specifically addressing the landscaping and front facade, particularly using the same materials as on the front facade.
I think we need to see what's going to be presented.
This is for preliminary approval.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy, are you in favor or against?
Yes, I am in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Magoon?
I am in favor. Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Mr. Duncan is in favor.
Ms. Spencer?
Ms. Spencer is in favor.
And Mr. Lambert?
Yes, in favor.
Motion unanimously passed.
Okay, thank you. The next and final item on our agenda is Super Suds Car Wash, 444 Coleman Boulevard, for final approval of site, landscape, and architecture. So staff, please make your presentation.
This is Peter Stone with staff. There are no site comments.
Okay, Brittany Johnson with staff, architectural comments. The applicant has met with staff. The proposed roof design is not in keeping with the town's architectural guidelines. Roof forms, including gasoline canopies and all other structures, shall be gable or hip design. Gable roof pitch shall be proportional to the building design, mass, and form. The proposed canopy and parapet detail do not fulfill the intent of the ordinance.
All right, at this time, we will ask the applicant to make their presentation. Please state your name and the name of your firm, and you have 5 minutes for your presentation.
This is Wentz, Integrated Building Design. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, this is Super Suds. We all been there. What we're doing here is the 3 automatic wash machine bays are getting upgraded. The new machines are quite a bit bigger than the old ones. So the roof, we're taking off the roof in those 3 bays, which is a concrete deck, 8-inch hollow core concrete. And it is a gasoline canopy, although not being used at a gas station. It's even, this building, the shape, the form, it's industrial. So we did think it was appropriate that the 2 could be, brought together, the old and the new. The canopy is structurally independent from the existing building. It is built exactly like a gasoline canopy similar to, I looked at the Lowe's food fuel canopy, and I wasn't involved in that or hear the DRB deliberation on that, but I saw that was passed, and it has kind of I know the design guidelines ask for a canopy or a gable roof or hip roof, but like the Lowe's food fuel roof, it's kind of a mansard looking. It's like a half or cut off hip roof, but so here went a different direction with the profile. That gives it some detail. We also have a 50%, issue that we'd like to stay under. We already have given the building department an estimate on the cost and the cost to rebuild it and the cost of the construction. But then we are under 50%. We have a little wiggle room. The blue panel is a metal composite panel. The lattice below is a screen to hide all the plumbing equipment, lines, the services. But so that's a PVC material, 2x6 material on a galvanized frame. This is open air, wet condition. You can see the harbor from here, and so it has to be overbuilt and a lot of galvanized. So that's all I have to say. I think there's really no site work or anything like Peter said. It's just installing the canopy. Okay, then I think that'll do it for me.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Okay, at this point, we will open the floor for public comment. If there's a member of the public who would like to speak, please state your name and address, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. And is there anybody in the lobby waiting to speak?
There is currently no one in the lobby.
All right. At that point, we will open the floor for board questions, and I'll call out the name of board members and state your name and ask. You may ask your question of the applicant. Ian Duncan.
Hey, this is Ian Duncan. The only question I have is, I suppose, why would it be an inverted pitch and why does it have to be blue? Seems like if we just did a parapet typical, standing seam kind of low country roof there with that louvered, whatever lap siding, it'd look pretty good.
This is Wentz. Well, I mean, I don't agree with that. Like the Lowe's food fuel, I just think it looks tacky. It is kind of like a metal roof up there, and it looks like a mansard roof, which is scorned these days. And it doesn't look like that. I know the intent was trying to make it a gable or a hip, but it's just not that. And the profile, I'm open to ideas on the profile. It is flexible. The color is just blue's my favorite color. At least it's not black.
Yeah.
Like the last project.
I would just say I get it. It's shocking. It grabs your attention, but I mean, I had to live in Florida for a couple of years, and I'm fighting tooth and nail for this place not to become Florida. And car washes are a special sore point for me. So the less egregious and loud they can be, the better. So I'd like it to just stay as low country as possible. That's my position. Thank you.
All right, this is Rick Lambert. I've got a few questions. Just looking at this isometric here. I guess it's hard to tell what does the roof look like in plan? Is it sloped to one side, or is it what does the roof plan look like?
Well, there's a ceiling plan.
No, the roof plan what is the slope of the roof?
It's a typical gas station canopy. It has internal integrated drainage down the columns.
Okay, so it's low slope roof with interior drains.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right, and then so what we're seeing, the blue around the perimeter, it's the distance from the center of the column out is the overhang.
Yeah. Yes. The blue is the profile, and then the lines are the metal panels of the ceiling. So it's a solid ceiling in there.
Okay, so
I have it transparent over the existing roof, so you can see.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Well, you don't like the mansard, but in some respects, it's sort of like that, is it not? It's a flat roof and it turns down. It turns down a little bit around the edges. Is that what's going on?
Yes.
Okay. That helps me to understand. I had a hard time looking at that isometric. And then there's a raised portion.
The elevation is a straight on view, kind of shows the profile a little better. It's a little further down in the set. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was just seeing that looked like there was a little, okay, there's a raised part there that you can see from the front. So how far back does that go? Or is that just right in the, is that almost like a little mansard as well? Or what is that?
I'm not sure. Can you say that again? You cut out a little bit.
Okay, I'm looking at the south elevation and what we're looking at here, and I see there's like a little upside down V there, and I'm trying to understand in plan where that is. If does that
look at the east elevation above.
That's the overhang.
Okay, it's just very thin. It's almost like a little sign element. It just sticks up, just very thin.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, thin.
Okay. All right. Just trying to understand.
It's a parapet, basically.
Brittany, can you zoom in on the south elevation? I just want to see some of those dimensions there. It's hard to. Keep scrolling. Oh, no. Maybe it was going up one page. Okay, there's the dimensions. I'm getting dizzy. Okay, if we can, yeah, there we go. I was just trying to see some of the dimensions, the vertical dimension on the edge of that roof. I still can't see it.
I can bring it up on my computer here. Yeah, the height to the bottom of the blue part is 13 feet, and then the blue part is 3 feet tall, and then the parapet goes up 2.5 feet. There you go.
Okay, 3 and 3.0 and 2.6 to the top of the little vertical element. Okay, that helps me to understand. And the overhang distances. That distance isn't shown, but it's probably around 5 feet or so from the center of the column to the edge.
Quite an overhang. You can do that with these canopies.
Okay, that's the only questions I had. Thank you. Next, we'll ask Chris McCarthy. Do you have any questions from the applicant? Chris, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Sorry, this is Chris McCarthy. Reminds me of Charlie Chan's hat. I don't like it. I don't like the blue. I don't like the shape. I'd like to see something different.
What do you really think, Chris?
Like Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Is there any particular reason that you cannot comply with the design guidelines and do a gable? If you were to do a gable, you might even want to terminate the end of the building with a gable as well off to the left side of the elevation.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. But I just thought the horizontalness of the whole building, and I don't think a gable is going to fit this building. I added the small parapet as a gesture.
Sorry, Wentz, I had to mute you for a second. If you could unmute yourself and continue your presentation.
Okay, I think I was muted there for a second. Do I need to repeat that?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, as far as the the gable comment and a true gable. I just didn't think it fit with the industrial nature of this building. I did make a gesture to gableness with the parapet. That was my effort. The building sits 80 feet from the street, so that's why I thought it was okay to just do a parapet type shape there. Again, I'm open to exploring the profile of the canopy. Then the color, I'm open to exploring other colors too. You know, I was definitely going for, I guess, for a 50s look, or maybe even, you know, on this more of a nostalgic. And I thought it went with the brick color, but I am not actually really good with colors. Maybe that's evident. So goes without saying.
This is Chris McCarthy. I think there's an opportunity here because you've got 3 bays structurally where you could do a series of different roofs.
Yeah.
2 different roofs, 1 in the middle, 2 on the outside. They don't have to be gables, in my opinion. They could be different planes. I'm not sure that the scale of this works with the rest of the building. This is a gigantic mass compared to the rest. So I would be more inclined to break the scale of this up a little bit and try to do something different with the roof line.
Yeah, I like that idea. I haven't thought about that, but a roof in series, or a series of roofs. That's understood.
Okay.
Oh, Rick, you're muted.
Okay, I'm back. Tara, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, this is Tara. I have a couple questions. So where the edge of the roof, so does the roof currently extend to where this blue metal panel picks up? Or is that extension just something that you chose to do to get that profile for the blue panel? Is it always gonna, I guess the edge of the roof is always gonna stick out that far?
Well, the goal there was trying to cover the kiosk area and to park, to drive up in your Beamer and to be under the cover.
Got it. Okay.
And pay there, and that's, I know it's big. It
is
big.
Any
other roof, like one big giant would even be bigger and more. There's a Super Suds on Folly Road that has a gigantic red roof, and it's pretty bad. I hope the owner didn't hear that. But I did go there and visit, and that was my first. I should have thrown a photo of that in there, but take a look at the Super Suds. That has a gigantic gable, but I think the series of smaller roofs is possible.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that you attempted to get the middle bay to be more of a focal point. Although I don't think I like I understand that you're trying to make a gable with the parapet, but I think that part might not be succeeding as well. If you start to maybe break that up, maybe it could just be a more vertical element. I honestly don't necessarily think it has to be a hip or gable roof. Because of the way that this building has a lot of horizontal elements, I do think that even like just a really nice squared off parapet, if done well, could work. I don't think we need to get into any tricky angles or shapes here. I think for this, even if it was a flat parapet wall, I think the materiality is really going to be the thing that helps this building. I'm not sure how I feel about the blue and orange, but just the red brick and the concrete that's existing, maybe if we could start to get something that could fit a little bit better with those existing colors. And I'm kind of tempted to have like, I don't know, if you do like a flat parapet wall, do some kind of metal panel or something that isn't as bright of a color. I think you can keep this simple without doing a giant gable roof or a hipped roof. I think it would fit this particular type of building well. Yeah, I don't know.
It was a challenge. Yeah, this was a challenge, and it's because, yeah, I understand. I'll further take it along.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand using the PVC 2x6s as that screen because it is going to get wet, and I understand that that's a material that can get wet and for maintenance reasons withstand. But when you move up to this level of the metal panel, I just think that there might be a better shape and color that you can bring to it that would help tie it in with the existing structure.
Okay. Shape and color. Okay.
Hey, Tara, this is Ian Duncan. I don't know if I can chime in, but what if we just completely removed the blue entirely?
Yeah.
Right? And then it works for me.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Just take the hat off.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier no blue. I already have noted no blue.
No, I mean the entire metal structure. Like if you just had that parapet wall out of the PVC and then your roof is obscured behind it, I think that's subtle and that works for me. I'm not sure if that works for everybody else, but
I mean, I think that works for me. I just wasn't sure if the roof does protrude past that original screen. It's just based on the east elevation. I wasn't sure how that worked. If it doesn't have to do that, then I think it's fine to just run it up. But
yeah, I wouldn't even mind if that PVC actually extended to like in the east elevation, if it extended out to where the blue goes.
Yeah.
Even with its mass, I think that would still look cool.
Yeah, actually, you bring up a really good point, Ian. If you run that PVC screen straight up, and then maybe just put a canopy element on the front, like that, just like the PVC would continue up, so that in elevation or in the east elevation, you would have a wall that comes up, and then you'd have a different canopy element on the front of it.
Yeah, I understand.
That might just be like a thinner line from the south elevation, and then you get that nice PVC screen. Just continuing like Ian's saying, because I really do. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I like that.
I'm sorry, I was scarred by living in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm very, very sensitive to these issues, especially those colors.
That's easy to do in Fort Lauderdale.
All right.
All right. So we need to let William, if he has any questions, state your question. William? I see he's not muted. But...
William, you're muted, so you would need to hit *6.
Hello?
There you go.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you, William. You have questions for the applicant.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have driven by Super Sud lately. It's in desperate need of a pressure wash. No pun intended. I mean, is there a chance that if we remove this roof and take some of those costs out of it, we can like paint the brick and create a new color scheme for this building? I mean, look at the inner sign underneath it on the screen. I mean, can we?
Yeah.
Can we do anything?
I understand. This looks like it's bombed out. It looks like it's Well, the scope of this particular portion of this project is just to install to redo the roof to install car wash equipment, which is the maintenance is planned, but it's not part of this particular, which would be, just routine maintenance and pressure washer and cleaning.
Well, look at underneath the inner sign. If you go by the building or do a Google Earth drive-by, I mean, that's throughout the whole face of the building. You talk about prominent. This is as prominent as it gets on Coleman. And so I guess my comment is, are we putting a Band-Aid on a bigger issue? And is there a way to approach this cost effectively, just to slap a little bit of paint on this thing, and make the overall building look better? And then by driving down the roof hat cost, can we just put a couple $1,000 toward putting a slap of coat of paint on this thing? That would literally, that's my comment. I know that's not why you're here, but I mean, this is a design review board, and we have to look at the building in its totality. We have an opportunity to just put a coat of paint on this thing, and I would encourage you to encourage your client to see if we can figure out a way to somehow incorporate some sort of color scheme, whether it's painted brick or the top gets repainted, some soft colors that have that low country feel to them. I mean, Tara and some of you architects on the board, I'm just a stupid civil engineer, but I mean, am I off here? Just
no, I don't. I do not think you're off. I think that's a great point to also look at the building as it is with the existing and add a coat of paint. I think that's an option that isn't too expensive. Even if the brick isn't painted, if it gets power washed and then just that band gets repainted, even that would make a world of difference. I agree completely, because that enter sign does look very rough.
I took that photo on purpose. That's one of the worst spots, and I have, previously, and the owner knows, this is an issue, and we are under the 50%. So, and I think, general maintenance could be included. It's not currently though.
Right, and I know that you're under the 50% rule, but slapping a coat of paint on this building couldn't be more than 10 grand. I mean, that's our job as a board member, is to try to improve the aesthetics of Mount Pleasant and the projects that are presented. And I personally feel like this is an opportunity just to do something inexpensively, but make it so we all feel proud about it at the end of the day. And I know we're focused on the roof, but can we just put a coat of paint, pressure wash the building?
Okay.
All right, so we need to give Steve an opportunity to, if he has any questions, to ask your question.
I do have a couple of questions, and I hate to be a broken record, but you guys have all stolen all mine. But I got a couple more I just made up. Do we have any hurricane rating issues with this metal roof thing?
No, I mean, it's designed just like any other one by a specialty canopy engineer and contractor, to withstand the design forces at this location, earthquake and seismic, and hurricane wind speeds. Yeah, you can see the harbor from right there. So
is there a functional use for this roof, or is it all just marketing? We just want a big bold color out there to draw attention.
Well,
if you didn't have it, like they're saying, if you didn't have it, is the roof?
We'd have to take the roof. We'd have to take off. We are taking off the existing roof because the new machines are bigger. They don't fit under the existing roof. So it would just be it'd be like it'd be an open sore, I think. And with go ahead.
So not only the blue, but also the white PVC 2x6s, that's new as well. And so again, to Tara's point, if you just lifted that up, we wouldn't, there really doesn't need to be a roof.
Well, it'd have to come out further to cover the car, the kiosk stand as the roof does.
Yeah.
I mean, and that would make that would make it even look bigger. I mean,
yeah.
But
it would be bigger. The PVC stuff would be bigger, like Tara was talking about.
If I can jump in, I think if you have a lower canopy, and like Steve said, run the PVC straight up, then the lower canopy could solve the function of the kiosk situation, and then the PVC can stay in the plane that it already is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a different look. It'd be more in line with the existing roof, your lower canopy.
And, Folly Beach can have all these little guys, these little suds and stuff, all they want. In Mount Pleasant, I think we have a little higher level of thing. And this building it really needs just be torn down you put half the cost of this roof into fixing it up like William was talking about. Because I tell you, wow, it's just disgusting. I know it's not your point on this, Wentz, but it kind of just needs to be done.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking about is, and I would like to see a more of a coastal Charleston blue than a Broncos blue, but I am a Denver Broncos fan, so that's okay. I like the orange and blue. Tara, thank you very much. But if we could carry, go Broncos. More Carolina blue. The other Carolina, right? But I wonder if it would make aesthetically looking if we carried that blue over to a rooftop on top of the truck wash thing as well. Carried that over, made it. I'm just trying to. I mean, this is a sow's ear, and anything you do to it would be better, especially power washing and a coat of paint, and fixing concrete veneer. So.
Yeah, it's a stucco, I think, over the concrete.
Stucco. And the pointy thing at the front just looks like it's going to blow off. I don't really have to have it, but I understand what you're doing with the gable thing. But anyway, that's kind of my questions about this thing is not very helpful.
All right, that closes our public comment. So now we will have opportunity for board comments and deliberation. And I'll go back through and ask if you have any final comments before we make a vote. So Ian.
This is Ian. I don't know how I missed the preliminary approval of this, but I would not approve it as final whatsoever. I think it's back to the drawing board.
Okay, this is Rick Lambert. I'm in agreement. I don't think this should be approved for final. I think it needs some more work. So Christopher.
This is Chris McCarthy. I make a motion to adjourn this.
No, you can't make a motion right now. We have to finish our board comments and deliberation.
Okay. I don't think we're ready to approve this. I'd like to see some other ideas.
Tara?
Sorry, this is Tara. I think I agree that we might need to see some more options, especially about the comments that we just talked about. I think it can definitely get there, and I think you can stay within budget. I know that the budget isn't high, but I think that there are some things based on the comments that we can see, and that would help the building a lot.
Okay, William? Any comments, deliberation? Uh-oh, I think we've, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, Ian, you can go straight to final instead of going to preliminary first. That's an option always. So that's how we're going straight to final on this. I would encourage is it Winston?
Wentz.
Wentz, the architect, to talk with his client. I'm willing to come on the weekend with a pressure washer and do it for free, and as long as he gives me some water. And I'd love to see the top painted as well, and then how somehow that tie into the whatever hat or roof we decide upon. Obviously, it's not the blue sailor's cap there. Some variation of that, or maybe none at all. And but I think we got to go back a little bit to the drawing board. I appreciate Wentz's willingness to discuss this in an open format and work with us. So I think we can all hopefully enhance this without driving costs too much. So we'll all be proud of it, and we'll get our cars washed. And thank you.
All right, Steve.
Is there a way for us to, or when this gets presented back to the owner group, or if it does, is there a way for us to say, beautify the building more so than put a top on it, especially an Asian takeout top? And I mean that in the best way.
Well, the owner is always welcome to come to these meetings.
Yeah. But, if there are any way to do that, I agree with everybody else. This is not in any sense of the way we're ready for final, in my opinion. And if there's anything that can be done, I'd do it to the building more so than anything else. And, I don't mind putting a roof on it at all, but not that particular one, and not when the rest of the building looks like it does. And if there's a way that we can, as a design review board, take this opportunity to stress to ownership, beautify your building, please, and your lot and your space, then I'd rather do that.
All right. At this point, we will open the floor for a motion. I think, Chris, you were ready to make a motion.
This is Chris McCarthy.
Yeah.
I recommend we hold this in abeyance as till the applicant submits further ideas.
I'm going to ask Lynette, is that an appropriate way to word this, or should we?
So, Mr. McCarthy, you're moving for deferral for restudy.
Yes.
Thank you. We need a second.
Ian Duncan will second that.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a roll call vote.
Certainly. Ms. Spencer.
I agree to defer.
Mr. Duncan.
I agree to defer. Ian Duncan agrees.
Mr. Magoon.
Steve Magoon agrees to defer.
Mr. McCarthy.
Chris McCarthy agrees to defer.
Mr. O'Neill.
William O'Neill agreed to defer.
And Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Lambert agrees to defer.
Motion unanimously passed.
All right, very good. Well, at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Ian Duncan makes a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Second.
And we have several seconds. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so any no's? I don't think there are any no's. So we are adjourned. Thank you
All right,
very
thanks,
much,
y'all.
board.
Thank you, guys.
Can I